Here's the hard truth. Most Amazon interview candidates spend 90% of their prep time rehearsing their star stories and still don't get in. Why is that? Because they miss the one leadership principle that overrides everything else, and that leadership principle is customer obsession. If you don't live customer obsession, you don't get in. Hi, I'm Nick, a former Amazon bar raiser who's interviewed hundreds of Amazon candidates, and in this video, I'll show you why customer obsession is not just a leadership principle, it's the first leadership principle, and one of the main filters that Amazon uses to decide whether to hire you or not. And I'm going to do this not in some academic fashion, but by presenting you with a mini mock interview. That interview is going to consist of 3 parts. Part 1 will be a functional question. I'm going to describe how Amazon lost tens of millions of dollars because of a mistake. Part 2 would be a behavioral question. I will describe to you how I worked in an Amazon fulfillment center for a week when I was in the level 7 executive. And part 3 is I will directly connect how these stories should inform your answers in the Amazon interview. All right, before we start, I have a couple of questions for you. What do you see now? Do you see a box? No. Amazon sees a gift inside the box. From one customer to another, Amazon sees love and caring from one customer to another. And what do you see now? Do you see a credit card? No. Amazon sees trust. The customers trust that you will do what's right with their money as a company. And one more question. What do you see here? Do you see chopsticks? Yes, I see chopsticks too. I had to do that. Okay, so let's start with part 1, the functional question in our mini mock interview, how Amazon lost tens of millions of dollars because of a mistake. It was Prime Day in 2019. It's ironic that I'm recording this video on Prime Day 2025. Imagine this was 6 years ago and it's publicly available information. You can look it up. It was Prime Day in 2019 and Amazon has mispriced hundreds of items in their photography category. So imagine these are very expensive cameras and accessories, some of them costing tens of thousands of dollars. And Amazon had mispriced those to $94 each. Now, Prime Day every year is Amazon's biggest sales day of all time. They break the records that they've accumulated so far throughout their history on that Prime Day period. And in 2019, it was no different. It was a frenzy out there. People know that Prime Day is here and they're out frenetically looking the site for deals. They found, obviously, about this pricing error, and the whole category was sold out in minutes. Literally minutes, everything gone. So imagine you finding out as an Amazon employee that your entire category has been sold out at a discount so deep. And your first instinct would be to sideline all these items to figure out what it is you're going to do. Because unless you sideline the items, the fulfillment centers are going to ship them. But you also realize that if you ship these items, if you sell these items at this discount, you're going to destroy the profitability of that category, not just for this year, but for the next several years combined. So you can imagine as a level 5 or a level 6 Amazonian who discovered this mistake, the pressure starts mounting. The fulfillment centers across the country are calling you now, burning up your phone and asking you what to do. And you don't know what to do. At the same time, you see social media. These customers are ecstatic. They're starting to post images of these items sitting in their shopping carts and their delivery queues and seeing that with Prime Day, they should receive those items very soon, very shortly. And the fulfillment centers are continuing to apply more and more pressure because unless you release those sidelined items for shipment, they're going to violate the terms, the SLA, the service license agreement terms that Amazon has to its customers. So what do? You escalate to your leadership, and there's endless meetings on that day trying to figure out what's the best way. And the pressure keeps mounting. It's like a dam that's about to burst. The next shift in the fulfillment centers is informed about this. The logistics of Amazon are paused. The whole fulfillment center network comes to a grinding halt. You need to decide what to do. At the end of that day, Amazon decided to ship all those units to the customers. I don't know for sure, but I imagine it was the call of the category leader. It must have been a director level leader, L8 somewhere, who made that call. And I can imagine what they must have been thinking. They must have thought, hey, my career may be over when I make that call, but at least we have kept our word to the customer. So what is the takeaway here? Customer obsession isn't just an empty word for Amazon. Customer obsession leads to customer delight, which in the long run leads to customer loyalty. And it's Amazon's firm belief that the best way of getting from here today to that customer loyalty in the future is by practicing that customer obsession. But that wasn't the first and only time when I saw what Amazon is made of. Next, let me take you inside the fulfillment centers, where I'm going to describe the behavioral interview question of how I worked at the Phoenix fulfillment center at Amazon for a week as a level 7 executive. So at Amazon, if you reach a certain level, you are required to go and work at the fulfillment centers. Why? Because the fulfillment centers are the beating heart of Amazon. Despite all this amazing AI progress that we're living through, the fulfillment centers are always going to be Amazon's beating heart, no matter what. And to understand that, every executive at Amazon must do shifts and work at a fulfillment center. And it was my turn, I was no different. And I was looking at gaps in my calendar to do this. And in Seattle, up in the headquarters in Seattle, I found some open time around the Christmas holidays. And I sent in my request. And then the fulfillment center in Phoenix called me and they started laughing at me. And they said, no, Nick, you cannot come here in the holiday period because every single second counts. We cannot afford to have a noob on our fulfillment center floors who's lost and running around like a chicken without a head. We are highly trained professionals. Every second matters. Every single component there is a finely oiled machine matters. And I'm sorry, you cannot come train in the fulfillment centers in the holiday time. So I apologized and postponed my visit there, my work stint there. It was in the summertime. So I fly down to Arizona to service customers from the trenches of the fulfillment center. And some of the work that I did started out as an unloader. The unloaders are people who are in the trucks and they unload the product, usually delivered from suppliers, into the fulfillment centers. And in the summer, it was very hot in Arizona, as you can imagine. And some of these trucks don't have air conditioning inside. So what we did was we turned off the lights inside the truck because for some reason the human body is fooled that if it's dark, the temperature is not as high. So I worked as an unloader. Then after that, I had to work as a stower. These are the people who take the items from the boxes once they're inside and put them into bins. And those bins are then dispatched into different parts, different places inside the fulfillment center. I was somewhat decent as a stower. I was the least bad as a stower out of all these functions. And every single one of these roles has expectations for the output of how many items you're going to scan and put into that bin in order to be shelved inside the fulfillment center. Then after that, I worked as a picker. And that was my worst performance of them all. The picker is someone who has a mobile scanner of some kind, and they are informed on the scanner where in the fulfillment center the item is. And once you see what it is you're supposed to retrieve, you have to go in that location and get it. So if we imagine that this bookshelf is a part of an Amazon fulfillment center, I would see the instructions on my phone or my mobile device, and I would go there and I would, let's say, take this book, which is expected of me, that's intrinsic, and I would place it inside a bin. and then the bin would keep going down the chain. My experience was that these intake roles were much more challenging than the roles further down the value chain. After that, I worked as a packer as well. And the packers are people who get the individual items that are placed inside each bin, and then they would put them in these Amazon boxes. And they would, in a much better way, obviously, and they would tape the box and they'd put a label on it and dispatch the box out. There was also something called a water spider. Water spiders are people who supply the packing stations, the packers, with the materials they require in order to do their jobs well. So they supply them with tape, with boxes of different sizes and texture. And they're called water spiders because they don't necessarily contribute to the productivity of the line, but they're like these spiders that walk on water, and they have to make sure that everything is humming along nicely. So I could remember in this heat, every day in just a week felt so hard. I was getting up early in the morning and I was groaning in my bed in my hotel room. And I was like thinking to myself, oh, why do I have to do this again? But that's what it takes. You have to show up day in and day out for the customer, and you have to play your part in each of these components of the value chain, because that's what Amazon has committed itself to do, to be obsessed about its customers in the long run. This is not a weekday like it was for me. It's a forever thing for the fulfillment centers, and they can deliver on that because customer obsession is everything that they represent. All right, now let's make everything practical and tie it together in part 3 of how these interview stories, these mock interview stories, should inform the answers in your Amazon interview. Your interview responses shouldn't just sound good, they should display the instincts that Amazon is testing for. When a bar raiser asks you about a tough call, among other things, they're looking for customer obsession. Did you do what was right for the customer? Did you take the pain? Did you suffer a monetary loss if you had to, in order to fulfill your promise to the customer and be customer obsessed? Or did you take the easy way out and cancel those shipments and saved tens of millions of dollars? Customer obsession is truly how Amazon separates missionaries from mercenaries. Missionaries, in Jeff Bezos' words, are people who are on a mission. Those are people who build product and they're obsessed with customers and they are on a mission. That's who Amazon wants to hire. Mercenaries are people who prioritize themselves, who are focused on their careers, who are focused on the path of least resistance. Amazon does not want to hire you if you're one of those folks. And that's what they're going to test in the interview with you. And that's what you're going to need to be prepared to answer and have responses that demonstrate that customer commitment and that customer obsession. All right, now that you know how vital customer obsession is for the way you think and the way you present yourself in the Amazon interview, it's time for you to take a look at this video here next, where I'm going to walk you through step by step on how you could score your star interview responses in 30 seconds and get actionable feedback on each one of them with this AI platform that I built called Score My Interview. Watch this video here next, and I'll see you there soon. Bye-bye.